Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the signing ceremony. The agreement to be signed is a memorandum of understanding between the Ministry of Defence of Finland and the Ministry for Foreign Affairs of Iceland regarding bilateral defence cooperation. May I ask Minister for Foreign Affairs, Ms. Katrin Tomasdottir, and Minister of Defence, Antti Häkkänen, to sign. The ceremony has ended, and now we will continue with the press conference. Madam President Halla Tomasdottir, President of Iceland, and Mr. Alexander Stubb, President of Finland, will begin with a few opening remarks, and then there is an opportunity for questions. Mr. President.
Thank you very much. I'm delighted to welcome Halla here to Helsinki in slightly Icelandic weather, but nevertheless, I think this visit is yet another sign of the strength of the relationship between our countries. We're both Nordic countries, values-based countries, and we share common interests and values, and we have both a strong relationship, of course, with nature. Today we've discussed our bilateral relations, our political relations, our security relations. We've discussed the Arctic, economic cooperation, entrepreneurship, education, as well as opportunities of people in our countries. We have spoken about our transatlantic relationship. We have spoken about Ukraine and Russia. The importance of Nordic cooperation has increased during recent years. As northern neighbors, Iceland and Finland are actively involved in this cooperation. And in times like these, it really matters to know who your friends are. And I think the bond that you and I have forged from the beginning when we started this office is a portrayal of that. Today, as you saw, we also signed a memorandum of understanding on bilateral defense cooperation between our countries, and this agreement, of course, paves the way for further cooperation. We saw one example of this in February when the Finnish Air Force took part in NATO's air policing mission in Iceland, and Iceland, of course, is a founding member of NATO, and Finland's NATO membership has further strengthened the defense relationship between our countries. Our cooperation also continues within the framework of the Joint Expeditionary Force, JEF, and it's important to say that security in the Baltic Sea and the Arctic region remains of high priority to Jeff. And lest I forgot to mention, we did discuss Arctic issues as well. The importance of the Arctic continues to grow. It's becoming part of the global geostrategic chess game, whether we like it or not. The impact of climate change will be strongly felt in and around the Arctic. With Iceland, we share the goal of a peaceful and prosperous and stable Arctic. And let me finish by saying that there's also a lot of potential for economic expansion. The startup scene, for example, is thriving in both of our countries. We'll do some more business-oriented work tomorrow. Currently, however, trade and investments figures lag somewhat behind those of our Nordic landlocked neighbors, and we hope that this state visit, with its large accompanying business delegation, will boost bilateral economic relations. Even though we are a few hours apart in terms of time zones, Helsinki and Reykjavik are actually quite close. We're connected by quick direct flight with both Icelandair and Finnair. 2.5 hours, I think. So once more, thanks Halla for accepting the invitation to this state visit, and I'm looking forward to spending time with you today and tomorrow.
Thank you, Alex, and good day, everyone. It has been a great pleasure for me to meet with President Alex Stubb here in Helsinki. Thank you for the warm welcome. Our conversation was not only warm and constructive, it also reflected the deep and growing friendship between Iceland and Finland. Our two countries are bound by shared values, democracy, equality, sustainability, and peace. And in today's changing world, a world of disorder, as you have often aptly called it, those values matter more than ever. President Stubb and I discussed the evolving roles of Finland and Iceland within NATO and the growing significance of Nordic security cooperation. Finland's accession into NATO has strengthened the alliance, and Iceland remains firmly committed alongside our allies to upholding sovereignty, international law, and the core values that sustain our collective security. The signing of the Memorandum of Understanding on Defence Cooperation between our two countries marks an important milestone, reinforcing the close friendship and steadfast alliance we share as NATO partners. I also want to underline in this context that Iceland continues to stand in solidarity with Ukraine, united with others against Russia's ongoing aggression, and we are unwavering in our commitment to peace and democracy. Finland and Iceland are also partners in shaping a new kind of progress and approach to human security, one that puts people and planet first. Through our work in the Wellbeing Economy Government Alliance, Finns and Icelanders alike are rethinking what economic success truly means in the 21st century. And WeGo is not just a philosophy, it is policy in action. We are investing in the long-term health of our societies and economies and showing that sustainability and competitiveness can and indeed need to go hand in hand. Our innovation communities are also closely connected. Each year, dozens of Icelandic entrepreneurs, investors, and changemakers attend Slush, Finland's world-leading startup event. And this vibrant exchange of ideas is a good example of how our countries inspire each other to think bigger and bolder. This is also reflected in the presence of a dedicated business delegation that joined us for this state visit, comprising about 50 individuals from 30 companies, exploring collaboration opportunities when it comes to future-fit energy systems, dual-use technologies, and gaming. These may sound like separate industries, but are all part of one larger mission: to build a secure, sustainable, and future-fit world. And beyond politics and policy, our connection is also cultural and deeply personal. Our citizens travel, study, and collaborate. From education and arts to science and entrepreneurship, the Iceland-Finland relationship is thriving with possibility. And in uncertain times, it is our friendships and our shared values and commitments that can give us confidence and direction and provide us with a moral compass. I commend President Stubb and the Finnish government for your principled leadership here at home, in Europe, and on the global stage. Iceland looks forward to deepening this partnership in every dimension, from defense and diplomacy to climate, creativity, and care for our people. Finland and Iceland are not just Nordic neighbors, we are trusted partners who are determined to meet the challenges of our time together. Thank you.
Thanks.
And first question goes to Olli Varis, Ilta-Sanomat.
Thank you. According to Jens Stoltenberg's book, Donald Trump questioned Iceland's existence in NATO in his first term as a president, as Iceland doesn't have armed forces. Question to President Tomasdottir: can Iceland rely on Trump and United States in defense? And a follow-up question to both presidents. Iceland and Finland signed this memorandum of understanding regarding bilateral defense cooperation. What can countries achieve together in defense? Can you give any concrete examples? Thank you.
Maybe I'll start with the first part of your question. Iceland and the United States are founding members of NATO. Iceland has a bilateral defense agreement with the United States since 1951, and we've enjoyed a very positive, long-standing relationship with the United States, and we have no reason to believe that is changing. But I think every country today is thinking about broadening its basis of security and collaboration during challenging times, and so is Iceland, and I think this defense agreement is a natural part of that, and the Nordics have, without a doubt, been growing closer. We've been close for a long time, but I think the friendship has gotten deeper after Sweden and Finland joined NATO as well. And last but not least, I think it's important to mention that while Iceland doesn't have a military, its strategic location truly matters. And I think one shouldn't underestimate the value of that and of many things that Iceland has to offer in terms of soft power. There are also solutions like dialogue and security issues that go beyond military challenges that we must consider today. And Iceland has a few things to offer on that front as well.
Yeah, and just to follow up what Halla was saying, Iceland is not only a Nordic country, but of utmost strategic importance for all of us in the alliance in the Arctic. The 5 Nordic states will be part of Norfolk Command. We'll do a lot of cooperation within that framework. On top of that, when you look at our planning of the so-called FLF, we will have Icelandic presence there in one way or another, which is proof of an part of the defense cooperation that we do with Iceland. So with this in mind, I think the fact that we have now a bilateral defense cooperation agreement signed and that both of us are in NATO, both of us are doing different types of training, including us doing air policing training right now in Iceland, I think we'll continue to deepen our defense cooperation partnership with Iceland, and that's to the benefit of the whole alliance, including the United States.
Netta Palokallio, Helsingin Sanomat.
I am asking about the current situation in Ukraine. Question for both of you. What's the message that Baltic Nordic countries are trying to deliver to Trump at the moment and to President Stubb? As you are meeting with President Trump on Thursday, what's on the table? Do you, for example, believe that Trump might impose sanctions on Russia? Thank you.
Sure. I think the basic message is that Ukraine is in a better place than they were a year ago. And there are reasons for that. Their military capacity has strengthened. And if you look at the situation on the battlefield, we are speaking about a war of attrition where there's very little movement one way or the other. In the past roughly 1,000 days, Russia has advanced only 1 percentage point of Ukrainian territory. In the meanwhile, of course, we've seen developments in the Sumy region over the past few days and weeks that have shown Ukraine's capability to advance. I also think that the Russian economy is not in a good place, which means that their interest rates and inflation is over 20%, which means that their reserves are close to zero, which means that their economy will not be growing this year, which means that they will probably have to increase, for instance, their value-added tax. Having said that, never underestimate the capacity of Russians to sustain an economic decline. So my message, and in the conversation that I'll have with President Trump on Thursday, we'll look at a lot of the facts on the ground. And I can also bring messages from my recent visit to Kyiv, where I had a chance to have one-on-one conversations with President Zelensky and also get an extensive security briefing of the situation on the battlefield. Then it is, of course, up to the President of the United States to decide what he does with the information. I keep on stressing that the President is very curious in gathering as much information as possible and then, of course, draws his own conclusions. My final point is to say, I think President Trump began from a position where he tried softly to persuade Russia to end this war. That was the carrot phase. And of course, with the latest language that he has put forward, I see a stick emerging. How big that stick is going to be is in the hands of the president himself.
Yeah, and maybe not much to add here other than Iceland stands united with like-minded countries in asking for just and lasting peace for Ukraine. I think the stick is partly in the hand of the United States president, but also I would say in the clever setup of the use of the frozen assets, which is in Europe's hands. And I think those two are the responses that are needed to get to a just and lasting peace and broad-based solidarity amongst those of us who need to live in a world that is rule-based, where sovereignty of nations is respected. So that's very much where we're at, I believe, and hopefully we're coming close to peace in more places than one.
Alec Nehum, MTV News.
President Stubb, you obviously covered this a bit already, but on Thursday in Washington you will be meeting President Trump. Why is this meeting taking place now, and are icebreakers on the agenda?
Well, we have many issues on the agenda with President Trump. As you might be aware, we are in fairly constant contact, but I think it's important from time to time to sit down and discuss bilateral issues face to face, because our focus has been very much around Russia's war of aggression in Ukraine. It's been around NATO and the alliance. It's been around few industrial issues, including icebreakers. So we have a very broad agenda for Thursday, and I look forward to the bilateral conversation and being in the Oval Office as Finland, not as part of a broader delegation.
And the last question goes to Finnish news agency Anni Keski-Heikkilä.
Thank you. To President Stubb, it's very exceptional for the Finnish Prime Minister to have a meeting with the President of the United States. So why is Petteri Orpo attending now on this trip and in the meeting? And since you are both going, and if the topic is icebreakers, how big of a deal should we expect? And are we talking old or used or new icebreakers?
Good try. So This time around, the agenda with the President of the United States is broad, and it includes economic and industrial issues. So I took the unilateral decision of having the Prime Minister as part of the delegation, asked him whether he would like to join, and of course he would.
Thank you very much. Press conference has ended.
Thank you.
Thank you.